Hey YouTubers, and welcome to Bevan's Bricks. I'm Daryl, and this is going to be part 6 of making a huge assembly square set. The first thing I want to point out is I got a little lazy with this build, and part of that reasoning is I'm looking at possibly doing some altercations on the building, possibly shortening it up just a slight bit there, and maybe even that piece there. Still got a few different ideas in my head, but I thought, you know what, I need to at least finish this video series and let everybody see what my original vision and thought was with the building. So that's why we have this. The other thing that you'll notice is right here along the whole front, there's a little bit of green. And what that is with anything that I build, what it is I always make it in a fashion where I'll have one row of bricks that's empty, as you can see here. And part of the reason that I do that is because when I put it into my city, I like to overlap the bricks from plate to plate. That way it helps lock it together a little better. And so this wasn't the part of the reason that I was lazy. It looks lazy. But anyway, like I said, this is the finished building. You can see it in its entirety now. Like I said, it's this huge building. The main thing I can point out for extra pieces that I used, as you can tell here, obviously, in the center section, I had to add this window piece and these pieces. These pieces did come with the set. All that detailing came with the set. All this came with the set. But these sloped pieces here, the double wide, they had singles. I replaced them with doubles. And the reason I felt that that needed to be done is originally this was set up as though it was like an outside balcony for barbecuing and things. And what I actually set it up as is now this area in the building is basically just an attic space. So it's not used space, it's not accessible space, it's just attic space. And I'll get to that towards the end of the video when I show the back of the building. For right now, I wanted to focus on the front. And the other thing that I did do, as I pointed out in one of my previous videos, I was able to, I had enough pieces, I was surprised, that I was able to do a third floor even with this portion of the building. To me, this is the sharpest portion of the building. And I'm not sure if I clearly pointed it out earlier or not, but I wanted to show what the extra pieces were that I did have to do to be able to do this. Number one, I had to make one of these complete windows out of my own parts. So that was the first thing I had to do. The second thing was I didn't have enough of the blue tile or bricks here to be able to brick it all the way up. So what I had to do is I replaced the blue brick, because I don't have blue, with the dark bluish gray. And that's like that all the way around on the building. The other thing is, if you notice on the balconies, the first floor balcony was actually a window, and that was how I got one of the extra windows for up here on the top floor. So I removed that window and put in a corner slide window. So that was how I came up with those extra pieces. The other thing I can point out, as a matter of fact, let's split that building up and let's kind of cover the buildings one at a time. The other thing I wanted to point out, as people have probably saw in the progression of this video series anyway, because there isn't enough of these blue bricks here to brick it all the way on all three floors. So what I ended up having to do is I had to use one row of my own bricks, which was tan, to run it all the way down around the back of the building, which I will show you that as well. Now, mind you, all these windows did come with this set. I know they're not attractively placed, and like I said, originally I was going to do some different detailing. As a matter of fact, you can see that these are stuff that came with the building, but what it was is because the building predominantly comes with 1x6 of this blue color and brick, and that's why I had to kind of funkily, I guess we'll call it, place the windows on the back side of the building, because I didn't have enough to actually just fill it in, and I'm still looking at possibly, because this portion of the building, even if I change the other two buildings like I'm debating on doing, this portion of the building is going to be staying the same. And what I will probably be doing is adding a fire escape or something here along the back of the building. But the other thing I do want to point out is all these pieces down through here were with the original set. With the exception of in here, I think I ended up using some 1x4s instead of using the 1x2s that it came with. But other than that, all these parts did come with this original set. And I also want to show, because I forgot these are kind of still halfway attached, but all these windows did come with the set. All this detailing did come with the set. This all came with the set. But again, just like the front of the building, I replaced these sloped pieces with the 2x2 style, and then I also had to replace or put in this window. So those are the main things I can point out that you would have to do extra to be able to build the buildings in this size, for these two buildings anyway. Now let's go ahead and start getting into some of the interior details. Thinking it's probably going to be easier just to hold it and show it, but on the first floor, I did have enough that I had the two skylights. I didn't bother putting in the second door. I figured it's really not needed. But now the first, or the top floor, I should say, again, like I said, I got a little lazy. There is a stairs coming up to it. I didn't bother putting anything in this top floor. So let's go down to the second, or I guess that would be the third floor. Now on the third floor, that was my original plan. On every floor, including the other buildings, I actually added walls. So you can see that there is now a stairwell. So that separates the buildings for each level. Now in this particular room, I kept the mirror for other builds that I intend on doing. But I left this as a ballerina studio, so it is pretty much the same as the original build. Now on the next floor below that was the music studio. Now what I did do, some of these pieces were from the set, and then I had to add a few extras. I made a small keyboard though. I used the other piano that they had, and let's see if we can turn this around a little better. I used the other piano that they had and used that for the music store, and then they had the two guitars, the two string guitars, the two saxophones, and then I made it look like there was extra cymbals and stuff on the wall as well. So that gave this particular room a lot more detail. And that's the other thing I wanted to point out. These are the doors that did come with this set, which you'll notice when I get over to the dentist office that it changes up just a little bit. Now, down in here, which is the coffee shop, this is where I spent the most time, and it's probably very apparent. The only thing that I did have to add in here, everything else is the same. I added this gray door myself. That's for a bathroom that's underneath that stairwell there, because right here is the door for the rear entryway. I didn't come with enough of these tiles on the back of these seats, and I don't have that color in a 1x2 plate. So I ended up making my own 1, 2, 3 chairs. Other than that, everything, oh, and I used, it was 6 1x6 tiles to finish off the floor. But everything else that is on this floor is entirely from the set. So this is what you can do if you combined 2 of these assembly square sets, with the exception of a few small parts. Oh, I forgot, I also added these brown tiles here and here, so these are of my own collection as well. But other than that, everything else in this particular half of the building is all from the 2 assembly square sets. Now let's go ahead and look into the flower shop, because I was really happy with the first floor in there. Okay, now in here, we're going to start with the top floor of the flower shop. First thing I want to point out is you'll notice when the buildings are separated, this is just an opening and this is just an opening. This I just put, now this is from my own collection as well. That's just supposed to be the access to the, what I'm considering now the attic space of the building. And as you can see right there is where that door is, and then there's doors in this half of the build for this half of the build. Anyway, now let's open this up, and you can see that this floor is still pretty much the same as far as the photography studio. The only thing that I was able to accomplish by making the building wider like I did, is I added like I said, there's a door in the other half. There's a small waiting room though. And then again, this is my own door. I added that in there so that way it was a private studio setting for when the photographer's taking shots. So I thought that was much more attractive. Now this was the part of the floor I was actually extremely happy about. Down here, I mean, it's the original counter, so that's the same. I have the bird. The bird was originally over in the corner, and then you have the flowers right here. But what I actually did is I made, because I've never been to a florist where they didn't have a refrigerated section for the flowers, and that's what I made here. I'm trying to get down as close as possible. That is my refrigerated area for the potted plants that are for sale. Matter of fact, let's see if we can get down a little lower. Now you can see it a little better. It is a 3-door refrigerator, though, for all of the florist's flowers. Let me pan back now that I'm knocking everything everywhere. And then the other thing that I did have to do, there was enough pieces to do everything you see here from the 2 sets. The thing that I did do, though, is if you were just going to use the 2 sets, these would be 1x6 plates underneath these. And what I did is I replaced the 1x6s. instead of having to use two 1x6s here, I used two, or a 2x6 here, and I did a 2x6 over here as well. This chair and this chair was added, and that is from my own parts collection. Other than that, everything that is on this building, and the refrigerator is totally from my collection as well. But the flooring is completely from the set. Everything else that you see here is completely from just having the two assembly square sets. And now, last but definitely not least, we have the final portion of the building. And part of my problem with the building and why I'm wanting to alter it is I don't like having the dual tower. I thought it would look cool, but the more that I stare at it, me personally, I think it would look better with only one. And that's why I said I'm looking at doing some alterations on this building. And again, there's also another explanation as to why, like I said, I got lazy. But let's start with the top of it, and let's pull this roof off. As you can see in here, the original kitchen area is pretty much the same, except now she has two kids on the floor with her. Still have the Lego display. Originally, the room, if I remember correctly, stopped right about here. So the couch went back a little bit. I added a refrigerator into the kitchen area, and then I made, mind you, this door and this door are from my own collection. All these pieces for the bed and the furniture that is in here is all from this set. But I just, like I said, I threw together a quick couch, a quick dresser, and then a little night table with a lamp on it. So didn't get too fancy with it, but I thought it was cool to have a little extra bedroom in that apartment space. I thought it really could use it. Next thing we have is the dentist office. And again, basically all it is now, everything that is in this floor is entirely from the set. There is not one added piece. Because we have two sets, there's enough to do two complete dentist rooms. So what I did is, again, I have the little hallway added here, and then added a door there. So you come into the waiting lobby. Oh, I'm sorry, I added this white door and this white door because I didn't like the window doors. But anyway, you come in, here's a little waiting room. This is where the secretary will greet you, and then you go into one of the two rooms to get your teeth cleaned. So I thought that was a really cool touch for that building. And now on the final floor, we have the bakery. And the bakery, it's just a really big open space. It makes it look so much better. And once more, I have the hallway in the back, and this is the door that takes you into the green part of the building. So again, this, to me, it really needed to have the hallway to separate everything, because I didn't like how you could just walk into any random store without having to walk through a door or anything. As with my small town, there are multiple different stores in different floors of a building, but the thing is, there is always a common hallway that separates all the different hallways and stairwells that takes you around. But again, I really think this turned out to be really nice setup. I could have actually probably even got a little more carried away with the detail. I think it was really sufficient, as I did kind of rush this last portion of the building, because like I said, I'm looking at possibly altering it some more. But I wanted to have at least a finished video to show everybody all the work that I did put into this before I ended up changing it up. Now here I just wanted to get one more quick view so you can see what the buildings look like all together from the back. Mind you, there is a lot more detail that I will be putting into it once it is placed in the city. So anyway, that is the finished build for, this is part 6 of the making a huge assembly square from 2 sets. I just wanted to give you one final view of the completed finished front. I hope everybody enjoyed this series, as I know it got a lot of views. Like I said, I wanted everybody to see the finished product, even though I kind of cut a few corners there at the end to get it finished. But I have a few different ideas. I have a whole lot of different ideas with my entire city now. And I'm kind of trying to rush things along so I can get on to building with that. Anyway, as always, I thank you for coming to Bevan's Bricks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time on Bevan's Bricks.